Funny, we're just here talking before we started about the differences in the summer weather in our different parts of the world. Welcome back to the Wrestle Chat podcast. I hope your summer's going well and nothing is stuck to your dash at the moment, like it is on Michael's. I don't know if we need to get into that yet, but it's funny what summer does to not only you but to your vehicles. To if you don't get out in the morning, you might as well see as much sunshine as you do in the winter, and it be gray and cloudy, because if you don't go out in the morning, you're not going out at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's for sure. Michael, welcome back. Good to see you, my man.
It's good to be here. It's a lot to cover today. I've been on pins and needles. Like, we haven't talked much over the last few days since the SummerSlam pay-per-view. A few little comments here and there. But, man, I'm so stoked to dive into all kinds of things that we need to cover. So, man, been looking forward to this for days now.
Let's do this. Let's start off with a grade for SummerSlam. SummerSlam, it's my 1B. If WrestleMania is 1A, SummerSlam is my 1B every single year. I've always loved this PLE. Excited to. I always just like the time of the year as well, but it always seems to perform much like WrestleMania. And man, this year, no exception. This year might even be more like WrestleMania was in the surprises, in the turns, in the new champions that were crowned. It feels like a whole new set of storylines came out of this PLE. Grade A through F. What do you think for SummerSlam?
Ooh, that's tough. I think what I'm going to do is give it an A-. I don't think it being in B territory is doing justice the way it should. So there were just a few little things that I'm not complaining. I want to be very clear. I'm not complaining. But if I'm, fantasy booking what I would have done while it was close, there's just a few little things I might have done a little different. So A- for SummerSlam this year for me.
I'm not sure that I really have anything that I would critique and go, oh man, I really wish something would have gone a different way. I didn't think some of the stuff we talked about last week.
You can't think of one thing.
A couple of matches that maybe not necessarily. Off the top of my head right now.
We'll get there, we're gonna harken back to this moment and here in a few minutes, and then we'll go from there.
But there's always room for improvement, and I know that. And so mine is a solid B, just a solid B for SummerSlam. Let's start with the new world champ, Gunther. He walked, and listen, this might be controversial. I'm not really the controversial guy. It's just kind of speak my opinion, and you can like it or don't or whatever. But I thought when he walked out on Monday, it looked like the guy had been the champion for the last year.
Yep.
And to be honest, he felt to me more like a champion than Damian Priest ever did. And so I really like seeing him, especially, you've mentioned this with Cody Rhodes, how he always walks out in that suit, has that belt, looks like the champ before he had the belt. Felt that way about Gunther. Seeing Gunther walk out there with the new version of a big gold sitting on his shoulder is like, oh yeah, that's where that belongs. That dude is so money every single time he comes out. And to see him as the champ, I didn't know that it was going to happen at this one. If we made some predictions last week, and it was like it could really go either way. To see that it actually did happen for him this quickly, and to look at the reigns that he's had, when he was the European champion, longest reigning European champion, longest reigning Intercontinental champion. It's not going to be super hard to become the longest reigning world champion, at least this version of the world champion. I'm not sure what the number of days. I'm getting a light show, evidently. I'm not sure what the number of days are for the world champion as the lineage, but I probably see that he could challenge that. How you feeling about Gunther, man? I know you like this dude.
Yeah, I do really like him. Here's where a little bit of the A- comes in. The booking decision was correct. Him winning was the right call. I don't dislike Damian Priest. Do I feel like it was premature and he was kind of just getting into his own on being a champion? Yes. That doesn't mean the title can't change hands. I feel like Gunther just got there too quickly. And then to not win in a clean finish really bugged me too. And I know that we're protecting Damian. He's a very prominent character on TV right now. I know why. I'm not an idiot. But I feel like Gunther getting it with the way it all unfolded just cheapened it just a little bit. I know he's working heel. That's fine. So destination, 2 thumbs up. The journey to get there, I thought it was a little lackluster only for Gunther himself in that the way that I view him as a champion. I don't think he needed to overcome odds, but to be perfectly honest with you, I would have rather had the Brock Lesnar Kofi Kingston match where it's over in 15 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like that would have just catapulted him and given him that. But this back and forth with interference, passing out, the whole, it cheapened it for me for Gunther. And so I'm still happy with it. I'm super stoked for him as a champion. I just wanted to get there just a little differently.
See, you know what's funny is that's what I actually liked about him winning.
Oh, interesting.
That's fun because we haven't talked about this. Because I mean, obviously we saw it, which we'll get to here in a little bit with how the Judgment Day 1.0 falling apart in essence, leading up to it. But you saw things happening. You saw something was going to go down. Was it going to be here? We didn't really know.
Was it a year ago when they started teasing it?
Yeah, no, that's what it feels like. It really has been like a year ago. But what I did like, if there was going to be, that was going to be part of the scenario of Damian losing. I'm glad it wasn't a straight up turn, as in like smashing him over the head with a chair, because then that would be, that's why Gunther won. In distraction, yes, I get that. Him putting Gunther's leg over him being Finn Balor, putting Gunther's leg over the rope, that seemed a little weird after Gunther just kicked him in the head.
Yeah,
which I thought was odd. So you go kick him in the head and he saves you? That seems a little weird.
Damian rolled him toward the rope, but we won't.
He did.
We won't
yes,
go
he did.
there.
Yeah, he did do that. But the fact that there was no physical interference on Damian by Finn Balor. He didn't actually touch him, and then to have actually Gunther choke him out, basically, make him pass out, was I felt it made Gunther look strong in the victory there. So I like that we have different opinions on
now.
That,
Here's one last thing that I'll say super quick. If I was Triple H, Paul Levesque, and I had to book this match, I would probably lose sleep for weeks leading up to it. But no, I want to give props because this is the problem you want to have. Is two guys who can legitimately be champions and then having to work the equation of how to make it work without just completely burying one guy or the other. So even though I personally wished it would have been a little different, the difficulty of this booking is not lost on me. So it's probably as good as you could do with two guys that are just on fire right now.
Now, Nia Jax being the WWE Women's Champion, is that a problem you'd like to have?
You remember a second ago when you said that you thought overall the show was pretty good and you probably wouldn't change anything? Let's talk about it.
But I don't how else you book that match. I mean, you're saying that it was booked in the first place, maybe.
What do you mean?
That she was in the match with Bayley, that Nia Jax was there in the match with Bayley. Maybe let's go back to King and Queen of the Ring. Yeah. You don't think that Nia should have won Queen of the Ring?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I see that. No. Listen, I say that I'm not a controversial guy, and then here I'm looking to say a couple things. You mentioned last week on the show, you're like, I don't know that fans were clamoring to have Nia Jax back. It didn't really matter if the fans did. Mm-hmm. I think there was one person, and he's on the board of directors. Cousin, maybe. Listen,
one of 97.
Yeah, no kidding. So you're just going to focus in on this one? Is that what we're doing? No, we're getting them all just over time. But I personally, I mean, we've mentioned this too. I personally have a problem with Nia. I always sit on the edge of my seat with a grimace when she wrestles, and it's not even from Becky. It's not even from the incident with Becky.
Right.
it's just in general, I'm like, ugh. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what they want. They want you to always feel like, ugh. Is that kind of how I felt throughout the LA Knight Logan Paul match too?
Yeah.
But always on the edge of like, okay, either someone's going to get seriously hurt or die in this match, and I'm not. It could be her. It just feels like something is always right within an inch of something bad happening. So now to have her as the women's world champion, or the WWE women's champion, where do you go from here with Nia?
Here's what I will say. Her showing on Saturday night was better than we've seen in a long time. I still did what you mentioned, which is kind of like Grimace the whole time, but it wasn't as much. It felt a little more well-rounded. From a character standpoint, my issue with her is, and this was a similar problem with Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, very early in her time too, more so in NXT and the first like 5 minutes on the main roster, is it feels just such like a high school bully person character. And I don't feel like she's come into her own in some way or another. And maybe it'll get there with time. I do think Bayley fizzled a little bit. I love Bayley. I love what she does. She's just fantastic. But she seems to be destined for the Dolph Ziggler treatment that
it feels like that,
because she can be anything at any point in time. Yeah. She's the company girl. She's going to do anything. Let me back up. Company woman. Let me show a little bit more respect than that. She's the company woman and will do anything that anybody asks her to. That's great. But she did fizzle a little bit as champion. It wasn't a strong pairing storyline wise. And I would say that is the biggest detractor of my grade for me was, okay, Nia went over. That's fine. I can take it or leave it. It's fine. Even the match wasn't like super great. I mean, it was cool to see Bayley get sat on 3 times. That was kind of a cool finish. But it was just lackluster for me. And again, if on random happenstance that Bayley or Nia Jax is watching this episode of Russell Chat Podcast,
they do everything.
I love you both. I think you're great. I'm happy you're there. But this one just didn't hit for me.
Has there in your mind, has there been as much interest in Bayley since turning away from Smiley Ponytail Bayley?
I think she had great character work as a part of Damage Control, but it was overshadowed by Damage Control and kind of she had to eat a lot of crow for people that were around her. But her heel character was actually really good in my opinion.
I also think that a lot of her work was really good because of who she was working with.
Yeah.
She did really well. I mean, her and Sasha were second to none.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there's no Sasha Bayley, there hasn't been another Sasha for Bayley.
I don't think to your point, and to zoom out a little bit, I don't think we've really had those NXT caliber matches of the WWE 4 Horsewomen like on the main roster, like we saw in NXT. I remember NXT TakeOver, was it Brooklyn maybe? That was Sasha and Bayley. I think that was the night that Bayley won the NXT title for the first time. But I mean, that was nothing short of a clinic. And we've not really seen much of that kind of caliber matches in the women's division on the main roster. Do I think it's coming? Yes. I mean, the people that are coming up are just, they're going to bring it. But I think there is a little bit of the changing of the guard that's happening where we're going to see more of those main event caliber matches.
In this, with Nia Jax being the champ, I'm anxious to see what happens between her and Tiffany Stratton. Mm-hmm. That'll be fun to watch over the next several months. New Intercontinental Champion Bron Breaker. I'll say this on Monday night when I saw it over his shoulder, he's talking about it, and he said it. It made me look at the title again, and he said Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. Yep. And I don't remember heavyweight ever actually really being used as the Intercontinental Champion in that vernacular. And I looked and it says heavyweight on the title.
Yep.
Has that always been there?
I don't think if you go back to the Oval Championship,
But on this one,
on this one, I believe it's always been there. Yeah,
it's always been heavyweight. We just don't say it.
yeah, we just don't say it. But the cred that it adds,
I think so too.
Yeah,
I like that. And I was like, well, why don't we? So does this insinuate that either the U.S. title or something else is going to come that's not a heavyweight? I don't know. That maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but I did think that was interesting that I hadn't noticed before. He said it, and I saw it on the title.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody else that's watching or listening right now did that too. But who's taking the IC title off of Bron Breaker?
It's going to be a
And
while.
how long?
I think. I think I think they'll let Gunther stand there. I don't think they'll let anybody pass that up.
You still have 2 years for that to.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that WrestleMania fell the way that it did, but 666 days as champion is a little unfortunate.
A little weird. Yeah, have that on the record, yeah. I mean, could we let Braun go 667 at least?
But
so we're not talking about, Gunther being the Antichrist or anything?
Exactly. But no, I think Braun will have it for a minute. He's a nice young guy. He's able to defend it a lot. And if you don't mind that I dive into it, I am so happy with the way that they played this booking between him and Sammy. I said this last week. I love the fact that he did not go over the first time. I feel like in previous regimes, it would have been like, that Braun kid's great. Let's put him over to the moon. And it was a story. And Braun faced the veteran, came up short, learned what he needed to learn from Sammy, adapted and overcame, and now he's the new Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. And man, so happy for him. But on that, it seemed like we got like 90-0 face turn out of him on that post show because he cut a promo like thanking Sami Zayn and giving him flowers and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, bro, you were like trying to murder people backstage about 10 minutes ago. Yeah. So it looks like we're getting a face Bron Breaker for a while.
I missed that part. I didn't see that backstage. Was that post show from SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Excited about this one. This is a long time coming. You talk about the IC title going on Bron Breaker being or Gunther, the world title going quickly on Gunther. This one played out for a long time. I thought maybe at least 6 months ago this would have happened, and no. I guess I heard today on Logan Paul's podcast that he is the longest reigning U.S. title holder.
I believe so.
And now it belongs to LA Knight.
Yeah.
Congratulations to LA Knight. This is a huge win, a lot of support, and it's one of those groundswells that we don't often get that last as long as this one has, and it doesn't really happen that often anymore. And mainly because a lot of times those groundswells are like, oh, groundswell, let's give it to that guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, groundswell, let's give it to that guy. Yep. And they didn't. They kept teasing us with a Money in the Bank. It's going to be him. He's up there. He's taking it off. No, he gets pushed off, and somebody else wins. And it just seemed like time after time he was getting screwed out of actually taking home a title. And to have LA Knight, after all the years that he's worked in this business, to finally take home the U.S. title, his first title in the big leagues at WWE. Congratulations to him. That's huge. And it was a Nia Jax match. It had me going, oh my God, I think they're both dead. Oh, I think Logan Paul's dead. Oh, I think he just blew out his knee. That he on his podcast he had Undertaker on this week, and they shot it the day after. Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet. It's on my queue though. I had a few others to catch up on first.
It's the day after. Logan had only had 4 hours of sleep talking to Undertaker, and Undertaker goes, wait, I got a plane. So it had to be here at 10 a.m. Sorry.
Wow.
And but he said he was talking about his flip off the top rope, and he said he trained for that, and he only wanted to do it once. He'll never do that move again. And there's also, we'll have to go back and look for it. He says that the ref secretly, quietly goes over and puts the rope in his armpit and walks down it to wipe it off, to make sure that it was clean, had no oil, had no water on it before he did that move, which I thought, I've got to go back just to see when that happened. He said, you can see it if you watch closely.
I'll tell you what, I mean, keep in mind, I'm only talking about my personal experience here. I'm not talking it's not a fact from history. I'm just saying I have never seen a move like that before. To jump on the rope, turn around, and do a flip like that. And then you're talking about a guy who's only been pro wrestling for a year and a half or something like that. It just, I hated that guy 2 years ago. I referenced it before. If you go back to the beginning of this podcast or whatever it was, Logan Paul's a hard guy to like, but man, he just, and to hear Triple H talk about him, he said it in the press conference after. Logan has made up his mind that he wants to do this. He's put everything else on hold. He's not boxing. He's not doing any other athletic anything because he wants to be a WWE superstar and he wants to take it seriously. Yeah. And man, he just deserves so much respect and credit. But to that point, LA Knight finally got a title, echoing what I said last week. U.S. title wasn't my first choice, but I understand with all the storylines in play, I'm going to take what I can get. But it was a great match for both guys. Both guys went over, in my opinion. Just absolutely fantastic. Something else that LA Knight said in the press conference, I'm going to paraphrase, add in a little bit what I heard, not necessarily what he said, but LA Knight talked for a minute about how, people wanted this a long time ago. A lot of people think that maybe things have fizzled down or something like that. And he said, that's only a problem if you don't realize that I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And he just said, there's plenty of time. This is just the start. I've been patient so far, and I'm going to continue to be patient. And just massive respect for that guy. And he's going to be a working champion, and I'm excited for it.
Good stuff. A lot of buzz. Was it going to happen? And we had to wait all the way to the very end of a really rushed stipulation in the world title match. The return of Roman Reigns. I said world title, WWE title.
They're all world titles.
Yeah, of course. Roman Reigns is now back, and OTC written across his shirt. That'd be the original tribal chief decided to come back home and retake his position, or just knock that guy off and go back and sit on the couch again. I don't know. I guess he is going to be on SmackDown coming up on Friday. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Are they going to put it at the beginning? Are they going to make us wait until the last 10 minutes of the show? He walks out and says 3 words because that's all the time he has for. Which one are we getting?
I think it'll close. If it was Raw, it would be the beginning. Since it's SmackDown and it's only a 2-hour show, it'll be at the end.
8:55. That's when you need to tune in so you can catch it. And will Paul Heyman be with him? That's what I'm wondering. He didn't come out at SummerSlam, but it was pretty cool to see the pop, the grin that he gave Cody Rhodes there at the end as well. Kind of interesting, or the little smirk. I don't know if it was a grin, whatever it was, but that was it. But definitely going after Solo Sikoa. Anticipating this be a build for Survivor Series, I would guess. You?
I would think so. Before I hit that. I texted this to you the other day, and I really do mean it, and I want to say it, in front of everybody else that's watching. I wish I could go back to 2015 after The Rock holds up Roman's hand at the Royal Rumble and just say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I mean, when you're as deep in this as you and I are, it doesn't always translate, or stuff doesn't always translate to make us pop. Okay. Like, oh, that's cool. We're in it all the time. The magnitude of Roman Reigns. I assumed it was coming. I knew it was coming. I was prepared for it. And the moment that music hit, I was on my feet, hands on my head, just in awe of the aura that is Roman Reigns. And even his character work in the way he walked to the ring. He wasn't mad. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't anything except Roman Reigns. I'm going to walk to the ring. I'm going to handle my business. There is no question that my business is going to be handled. And then I'm going to turn around and walk back out. And that entire moment, I was in complete awe of Roman Reigns. I am so glad he's back. I missed him. And to be honest, I recognized this prior to WrestleMania 2. I loved what he was doing. We talked endlessly about the bloodline work and things like that. But I'm just glad he's back. But we have interesting things on the horizon because it could go about 17 different directions, and WWE said it, Busted Open said it. A lot of people have said it. Is he coming for Cody? Is he coming for Solo? Is he going to rebuild OG bloodline? Is he going to absorb new bloodline? There's so many things that could happen. But Survivor Series does seem like the plausible place to make something happen.
It'd be interesting to see. That's coming up in November. It's always the Thanksgiving tradition Survivor Series, and ironically not happening in America this year. It's happening up in Canada, which is going to be a little interesting for the folks traveling up there. I mean, talent-wise. Yeah. Hang out here with your family, eat some turkey early maybe, and then go up for the PLE. Before we jump into a Monday Night Raw and some things there, on Monday was the release of Damian Priest. Even though he lost his title, he still got him a brand new documentary. Mm-hmm. Have you watched this yet?
I have. Really good.
Is it?
Really,
I haven't had time to dive in yet.
WWE just has, specifically their WWE 24 documentaries that started a few years ago. They just have those dialed in, man. And you and I are production and video guys on top of being wrestling fans. And watching a WWE 24 documentary is a full encompassing experience for me. Not only is it just visually beautiful production wise, but telling Damian Priest's story. People just don't realize how he's not old, but how old he is comparatively to wrestling.
Right.
You wouldn't think he would be this successful so late in his career, but he is. But just that he is, it's very clear that he is a very genuine individual, and he's thankful for where he's at. I think it's very common for us to see wrestlers that buy into their own hype and things like that, where you can just tell, hey, you're kind of a jerk, Damian Priest is a real one, and I'm not going to say anything else other than that. I would encourage you guys, anybody that's watching, to go check it out. Really, really good, worth the time, and just left a good feeling in me when it was all said and done.
Couple of big things from Monday. One, it appears that they haven't given themselves a name or said anything really yet, but about who they are. But I'm guessing it's a Judgment Day 2.0. Mm-hmm. No longer a Damian Priest and no longer a Rhea Ripley. Why she wouldn't be in it, I guess it would make sense. If Damian's going to be a part of it, she would not be. And so I could see that. What's going to happen with her and Damian Priest? Are they going to team up and just start a new one? Are they going to go out and just be friends and live their own lives as we see on TV? My guess would be the latter. But anxious to see what happens here with this new faction and I still think the odd man out on this whole thing is not JD. It's Carlito.
Yeah.
How was Carlito part of Judgment Day?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm completely indifferent about it right now. I don't want to fall into the trap of like, oh, Judgment Day 2.0 sucks. Rah, 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 rah. Like, I don't want to fall into that trap. Am I a little concerned? Yeah. Carlito. This
is odd.
It's a little odd. Yeah. But, I've been so happy with everything we've seen, over the last year or so. I don't want to fall into that trap where I'm just being like a grumbling pro wrestling fan. And so I'm going to give it some time, see where it goes. I would say I'm less concerned about Judgment Day 2.0 and whatever they do, more so to your point of what are Damian and Rhea doing? Because I really don't want Rhea to disappear into the women's division again and just kind of be a solo competitor. She's really good on the mic. having her present on screen as much as she was with Judgment Day, I believe helped the product. So I hope she just doesn't disappear.
Well,
I don't think Damien's going anywhere because he can still have a shot at the title again in a rematch and things like that. But it's interesting.
Well, they both have business with this 2.0 or whatever it is. So yeah, I anticipate seeing them together at least until some of that business is handled for sure. The other one is another one from Monday is another faction. I was trying to get out there. The debut of the Wyatt Six actually in the ring fighting. Same place 11 years after the Wyatt family debuted on WWE. Exact same place. Pretty cool. And they also brought out a rocking chair and a lantern with him too that Uncle Howdy ended up sitting in for the entire match. Absolutely love that. It's funny though, because tag matches in general, whether it be a traditional tag match or a 6-man tag, have all resorted at some point in the match to being just a free for all that the ref just stands in the corner and watches. And I thought that happened a little too much, maybe in this bout. I did like the look of those three guys together wrestling with Uncle Howdy and Sister Abigail hanging out on the outside with the smoke that surrounded them pretty much the entire match. Great look. It's cool to see them actually have something in the ring than just these vignettes and videos, to see some action actually happen, and anxious to see where this goes moving forward. Obviously, I don't think this whole deal is going to be the feud that they have moving forward. But what is next? I think it's what we always look to. What is next? What are we going to see next? I'm enjoying what I'm getting from these guys right now because it's not a rush.
Yeah.
Everything feels like it's calculated and planned with the right tempo as well.
Yep. Totally agree with everything. Only thing I would add is as many good things that are happening right there, for me, the standout, no doubt, is Dexter Lumis. The way his look has changed, the way he moved in the ring, just really, really good stuff. And Joe Gacy, no scrub either. Really good work by everybody overall. Just like you, I'm excited to see where it goes.
We've got Friday Night SmackDown coming up tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. Of course, Monday. And really what I'm looking forward to, I think probably the most, is finally hearing from LA Knight as the brand new U.S. champ. That's that and Roman Reigns, obviously. But just him finally getting gold. It was a cool moment just for me as a fan. So excited about that. Michael, anything else we need to hit on before we say adios here?
Yeah. I just want to point out, we're like almost to the halfway point to WrestleMania again.
That's weird.
And it's crazy to think. I thought about this the other day. We're almost to the halfway point to WrestleMania again.
Was that October?
See.
Yeah.
May, June,
yep.
July, August.
April is
Yeah. So October, and things are popping. And normally it sucks right now.
Yep.
And so super thankful everybody's doing there at WWE. It's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan.
Yep. Well, chime in. Let us know what you think about everything that we talked about here. Gunther being the new world champ, LA Knight being the new U.S. champ, Bron Breaker, IC title holder now, IC heavyweight champion, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. Excited about that. But want to know what you guys think about all this as well. Chime in, let us know. You can find us on Instagram at WrestleChat Podcast. Find me on X at the Ant-Man. And for Michael Glavin, I'm the Ant-Man, and we'll see you next week here on the WrestleChat Podcast.